While Amy is trying to record her audition tape, Sammy starts yelling at someone, disrupting the filming.
What's up?
We had to stop because you were talking. That's okay.
One of the kitchen staff says that this is the only restaurant she's worked in where they aren't allowed to talk to each other. Gordon isn't going to like that. When filming begins, the lady on the left is the only one of the three that still work there. She doesn't speak once throughout the episode. The no talking rule in the kitchen might explain why.
Stop talking, everyone, stop, get out, no talking. I'm out here all by myself, screaming.
She says the smallest thing going wrong can set the couple off, and then they feed off each other, making a bigger deal than it actually was. Amy stops the interview, saying she is distracted with all the things happening behind her, causing her to forget the question being asked. One of their servers describes Amy's behavior as 1 minute being a nice little Care Bear, then the next Cruella de Vil. She had this to say about her.
Amy's nuts.
The server thinks Gordon is wasting his time because nothing is going to change the couple. She might be right. We learn that they have servers who take the orders, delivers the food, and gives the checks to the tables. But it is only Sammy who puts the orders into the system, pours the alcohol, and who picks up the checks from the tables or handles any transactions. Sammy likes to have control over everything, but gets flustered easily when given an extra task.
I cannot work. I can't.
Amy has some words for them as they leave the restaurant, telling them to never come back.
You're a little pansy. Get out of here. Don't you ever come back.
When the couple comes back into the restaurant, Amy starts telling the dining room that she makes excellent food as they all watch in awe. Meanwhile, the waitress is doing her job as if this is just a normal occurrence at Amy's baking company. While touring the kitchen, Gordon asks if there are any males working behind the line. Amy said the kitchen is too small to work with a man and his ego. Sammy says he is the only male his wife needs in the kitchen. She says she has had males in the kitchen before, but finds their standards are below hers when it comes to cleanliness. Amy tells him that if she or Sammy can't come in to open the restaurant, the place doesn't open, to which Gordon replies,
"That's no way to run a business."
Chef Ramsay doesn't seem to believe them when they say they can't find qualified people to help them with the business in all of Arizona. Sammy says they can't trust people, while Amy says people are dirty and lazy. Gordon is shocked to find out they have tried hiring about 100 people in the last year or so, most quitting on the first day. I wonder why. Chef Ramsay is ready to try the food. He finds out that his server has been working there for a month and a half, and that she doesn't know if the tips are good or not because she doesn't get to keep them.
Say that again.
He tells her that she is probably the only server in the country who doesn't get tips. It gets worse because we find out that the tips are actually going to Sammy. When Gordon confronts Sammy about not tipping his staff, Sammy says that when he has someone who can do their job without him having to interfere, then they can have the whole tips to themselves. He claims he does most of the work and asks Gordon if he watched him take 3 orders and send them to the kitchen. Gordon reminds him that he is the owner, meaning he gets the profits from the sales, whereas the servers do not. He again says he does most of the work. Seeing the conversation going nowhere productive, Chef Ramsay tells Sammy he is ready to order. When Gordon hears a doorbell going off every few minutes, he asks the server what it's for. You might think it would be used by the kitchen to let the servers know the food is ready. Not this one. It's actually to let the kitchen staff know there are dirty dishes out there so they can go get them. Ramsay wonders why the servers can't just take them back and says it's the first time a dishwasher has ever used a doorbell. While waiting for his food, Chef Ramsay notices that Sammy is the only one using the system to send orders to the kitchen. When Gordon asks Sammy why he doesn't train servers on the system so he is free to do other tasks, he says he will show them when the time comes, so never. Chef Ramsay asks the server if she's used a point-of-sale system in the past and how many jobs she's had. She says she's used systems at every other job she's had, which was a lot. You can tell Sammy doesn't like this conversation. He just doesn't want to share the tips. Gordon receives the may or may not be freshly made ravioli and asks the server how the salmon burger he ordered is coming along. She makes the mistake of asking Amy how much longer for the salmon burger. Amy says it's on its way. She doesn't have to tell them it needs to go out because they already know. She tries to explain Gordon asked about it while the other kitchen staff passes her the salmon burger. On the way out, Gordon gives the server some money, telling her that the tip is just for her. Sammy watches the interaction closely. As she accepts the money, she looks at Amy, who has smoke coming from her ears, knowing that the tip wasn't going in her and Sammy's pockets. When one of the tables is missing an item they ordered, Sammy says the server didn't tell him when relaying the order for him to put into the system, so she digs through the trash looking for the order she wrote down. She shows Sammy the slip, and he takes it better than you would think and puts it through the system to the kitchen. The other server isn't as lucky with Amy. Amy tells her which table the order is going to, then corrects herself a second later. The server asks Amy if she's sure, and the look on her face sets Amy off. She tells the server she doesn't need to question her and she can go home right now. Gordon isn't impressed with what he is seeing. The server apologizes and continues out the kitchen with the order. Amy follows her out front, telling Sammy that the server has to leave because she's having an attitude. Poor girl's in the background saying no, 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 and trying to explain the confusion. Sammy knows Amy is overreacting and tries to talk her out of the decision to send the server home. When Amy returns to the kitchen, Ramsey is more confused about her behavior than he was the sweet and spicy frozen ravioli.
What a little
Ramsey notices the $10 tip on the check Sammy is finishing up and asks him if he's going to share that with the waitresses. He says no because they make hourly. Gordon asks if the customer knew the tip was going to the owner and not the waitresses, if they would still be leaving a tip. He asks the closest table what they think about the fact that the owner keeps the tips they gave to their server. He gets the answer he was looking for. This doesn't go down well with Sammy, who tries to come up with an excuse before Gordon cuts him off, starting this argument in front of some shocked customers.
No.
Don't. With me.
Yeah, I will with you. Who the you think you are?
Gordon says he is fed up with Sammy's weaseling ways. Sammy tells Ramsey not to talk to him in an aggressive tone, saying he himself is the gangster, not Ramsey. Chef Ramsey tells Sammy to tell the customers the waitresses are going to get their tips. Sammy tells the customers the waitresses do not get the tips. Sammy tells Gordon not to mess with him because he will mess with Gordon, before heading into the kitchen asking Amy if all the food has left the kitchen for the evening. She says yes, they are closed. Gordon continues the conversation with Amy, asking how she expects to have good staff when they don't pay them the tips they deserve. She says her husband pays those girls a good wage of $9 or $10 an hour to do nothing, and that if they would do half of what Sammy does, then they could have their tips. Gordon calls her deluded. While closing the kitchen, Amy tells the waitress, who she thought was giving her attitude, that she can go. She says okay and walks away. You can tell she was holding back tears as Amy chases after her, saying not to walk away from her when she is talking to her like the control freak she is. She then tells the girl that she no longer works there. The girl starts crying, which makes the vulture swoop in more by telling her not to cry, and acts like she has no idea why she would be behaving this way. Sammy tries to smooth things over, but the waitress isn't having it, as she shouldn't. He then turns to Amy, asking her to calm down, that she is just a kid. Then he turns to the waitress, telling her not to worry. She turns around and tells Amy that she wasn't doing anything, to which Amy replies that she had an attitude with her all night. She announces that she quits, but Sammy doesn't want her to go, unlike Amy, who is already saying goodbye. Amy had this to say about her after she left, not seeing the irony that she herself has the worst attitude in the building.
He's a poisonous little viper, and I don't allow people to have an attitude in my restaurant.
He decides to talk to a couple former employees of the baking company to hear about their experiences working there. The lady said that she went to culinary school and was hired as a food runner. Sammy told her he didn't like people who went to culinary school because he didn't think they knew anything. She said she was only allowed to bring water to the tables when she first started. She stayed there for a few months with hopes of working in the kitchen. The guy said he was there for a month and mostly bussed tables. He talks about how Sammy was never in a good mood and could not handle complaints. One of the tasks while working there wasn't part of the job description, so he thought.
He made me wash his car one day.
What?
She says she worked there for a year and a half, seeing about 50 people try to work there with no success. When Gordon brings up the way she spoke to the young server, she gets super defensive and tries to justify her actions by putting the blame on the girl's attitude rather than her own. Except she calls her that kid. She then says that she's not going to let anyone hold her hostage to get anything they want from them. Gordon tells Amy that she is over-dramatizing the way the girl spoke to her, asking her if she was sure where the order was going. Ramsey tells them that he met with former staff, even naming them, and was told some horrible things such as how they treat the staff poorly, had them clean their car in the middle of service, and having 50 staff that went through there in the past 2 years. When she denies having 50 people come and go and asks for proof, Gordon calls her bitter. Sammy tries to help Amy by saying the former staff is wrong about the number of people who attempted to work there, but instead makes it worse by saying there was actually over 100 people who have come and gone, as if shifting the blame to others. Amy doesn't thank Sammy for helping her out with the stats. Amy says she does her best to make sure their doors don't close because she can't find qualified people. Then suggests Gordon go get the fired waitress, the former kitchen employee he spoke to, and the waitress he tipped, and have them run the restaurant to see how they do. Gordon says they won't come in because they're scared of Amy and embarrassed by the way she treats them. He tells them that it's not normal to go through over 50 staff. When asked about the tips, Sammy says he makes sure the staff get paid. People signed a Change.org petition to have the labor board investigate the restaurant for taking tips from servers. Amy forgets the script and says that the most hurtful claim was that they were capable of stealing tips from their staff. They say they pay their staff $8 to $14 an hour, but Amy said earlier they get $9 to $10 an hour. They probably start at $8 an hour and get a 25-cent raise for every 4 months. Their capability to not allow staff tips resulted in this argument.
No.
Don't. With me.
Yeah, I will with you. Who
Yeah.
the you think tinggi yun?
They held a job fair around the time of this interview, offering $5 an hour plus tips, rather than the $8 to $14 an hour Sammy and $9 to $10 Amy claimed to pay them in the past. Sounds like staff were making $8 an hour. The change probably came after the labor board investigation, which Amy says cleared them of any wrongdoing. The show catches up with some people outside of the business before visiting the restaurant. First, they meet with a former server. She tells them that the day the show packed up and left, the couple fired everyone, saying they could do it all on their own. The next day, she gets a call from them begging for her to return. She was kind of setting herself up for failure, but agreed to go back. She said Sammy and Amy saw her accept a tip from someone and accused her of stealing, so she threw the bill at them and quit.
Told them, don't ever talk to me again. I'm done with this place.
They have waitresses now, so the whole world doesn't think they steal tips. I think they tried hiring food runners rather than servers in the past so that they could make them think they weren't entitled to tips. Anna asks Sammy about the tip situation, and he responds by saying he pays a high hourly wage, so he isn't expected to give them their tips. Sammy says the waitresses get money even on slow days, rather than just standing like this waiting for tips.
They wait like this.
Anna asks Sammy if letting them keep their tips was a good thing that came out of the show, to which he repeats himself, saying when they are slow, they don't get tipped. Amy says she lost respect for Ramsey when he said he wouldn't fire the waitress for giving her this type of attitude.
4B. No, 5B. Are you sure? You don't need to question me, Katie. You can go home right now.
They try to justify their taking of the tips by saying they paid their servers $14 an hour. When asked in the past, they would say $8 to $14 per hour. Amy might not have even known how much they were making, considering she said Sammy pays them well.